I'm a provisional psychologist from Australia, and today I'm going to teach you how to start feeling beautiful about yourself. In order to start feeling beautiful about yourself, we need to understand the psychological cause that can lead a person to feeling dissatisfied with their body image. So, one of the most important things to understand in this context is that you are not born unattractive. The idea of being unattractive or not beautiful actually develops over time with age. You literally cannot be born unattractive because all babies look pretty much the same when they are born and for the first few years of life. So now let me explain to you the process that a person undergoes in order to develop this idea that they are unattractive. What happens is a person will be repeatedly exposed to environments that require them to evaluate their physical appearance. This self-evaluation process happens pretty much automatically and almost straight away. So, for example, when you open up a social media app like Instagram and you look at images of other people, this automatically sparks the self-evaluation process where you look at the person, you look at the image, and then you compare that image to yourself. This continuous activation of the self-evaluation process in the context of physical appearance and beauty leads a person to adopting a observer perspective of themselves, almost like they have an invisible eye that's looking at them from the third person perspective. A person is basically constantly monitoring themselves and their physical appearance as if they are someone else looking at them. So what happens is, if a person is continuously self-evaluating their physical appearance and they make the evaluation conclusion that I don't meet the evaluation standards of beauty, also known as the beauty standards, then that will lead the person to believing that they are unattractive. Furthermore, some cultures reinforce the idea of body objectification. This typically occurs for women, but it also does occur for men, where what can happen is a culture or society will make it so that a certain style of physical appearance is considered valuable and any other deviation from the norm is considered unvaluable or not attractive. You can really think about it like this. If a person is continuously self-evaluating their physical appearance against a certain type of criteria that they cannot meet, then logically the conclusion is they will decide that they are unattractive because they don't meet the standards. As a bit of a silly example to illustrate the point, you could say this. Imagine a world where being beautiful requires you to have 3 arms, and then let's say you are born with 2 arms. Then you literally cannot meet the standard because it's impossible unless you can magically grow a 3rd arm. And then, of course, if you don't meet the standard, you might conclude that you are unattractive. So then, if you don't meet the standard, you might rationalize that it is a permanent failure. It is a permanent loss and there is no way to fix the problem. So then that leads me into the next part of this video, which is, what is the solution? What is the intervention? If a person has funneled their thinking process down to this conclusion that there is nothing that they can do to meet the beauty standard, what can they do to fix this problem? Well, I think the solution to the problem lies in the idea of the following. Why is it that there are millions of people around the world that don't meet the beauty standard but are still happy with their physical appearance? Why is it that some people are heavily invested in the idea of looking beautiful while others are not as heavily invested in the idea of looking beautiful, and maybe they don't meet the beauty standards but they're actually pretty happy with their body? Take me for example, use myself as an example here. the beauty standard, quote unquote, for a man is to be big and have muscles like Hercules or Thor or Captain America. But if you look at my arms, you will see that I am pasty and thin and don't have any muscles, and I don't really care. So why is it that people like me or other people can have a normal body and not really mind? The reason why is there's two main reasons, which I'll explain. The first reason is that people who don't meet the beauty standard but don't seem to mind do not continuously evaluate their physical appearance because they don't assign 100% value to beauty. They see that beauty is one component of a person's overall value, but the other components are things like personality, attitude, hardworking, kindness, how you treat other people. These are the other variables that go to and contribute a person's overall value, more so than just the one factor, which is beauty or physical appearance. See, people have trained their brain to not automatically think beauty is the only way to be accepted into society. They've trained their brain that actually there's various other ways to receive societal acceptance, but first it starts with accepting yourself. And once you accept yourself and see that there are many different ways to derive value, which is not just beauty, but in the things you do, how you treat other people, once you look at all the different variables that contribute to the human experience and what it means to be a person, you can untrain the brain to stop automatically seeing value as just beauty, but actually seeing it as a whole raft of different elements.